In lighting these candles, we observe our sacred obligation to remember our 6 million Jews who perished in a planned system of human destruction. We wish to reclaim the legacy of those victims, those whose names we knew, and those whose names are forever lost in the Shoah. With our first candle, lit by Faye Zellman, a survivor of Auschwitz, Stutthof, and Guttendorf, along with her daughter, Helene Levine, her grandson, David Levine, and her great-grandchildren, Nate and Joan, in memory of the 6 million Jews and 6 million non-Jews who died from starvation and torture in the ghettos, forests, labor camps, death marches, extermination camps, POW camps, and transit camps, all over Europe under the German occupation. We remember. With our second candle, lit by brother and sister Gerald Cizek and Sherry Magid, whose parents were survivors of the work camps and of Auschwitz, along with their family members Barb and Corey Cizek, Phil Magid, Stephanie and Yaakov Rothstein, in memory of all of the Jewish victims who perished in the ghettos of Warsaw, Krakow, Kielce, Lvov, Lodz, Vilna, Belzec, Bialystok, Częstochow, Lublin, Radom, and all of the other towns and villages of Poland, we remember. With our third candle, lit by sisters Ida Manning and Joyce Palikoff, whose parents were survivors of Sachsenhausen and Ravensbrück, in memory of all of the Jewish victims of the Shoah who perished in the extermination camps of Auschwitz, Birkenau, Majdanek, Treblinka, Chelmno, Belzec, and Sobibor, we remember. With our fourth candle, lit by Charlotte Honoro, who survived the war in Siberia, along with her children, Rena and Barbara Honoro, in memory of the Hungarian, Romanian, and Soviet Jewry who perished in the Shoah, and the victims of the concentration camps Gross-Rosen, Dachau, Buchenwald, Mauthausen, Sachsenhausen, Ravensbrück, Stutthof, as well as those killed in the massacres in Kiev, Babi Yar, Vilnius, and other smaller towns and villages, we remember. With our fifth candle, which will be lit by Marlene Rubenstein, a child of survivors from Sosnowiec, who survived a death march and was liberated from Bergen-Belsen, along with her daughter Dina, in memory of all of the brave soldiers, the partisans, the freedom fighters, and the militia who served with the Allied forces, as well as those brave soldiers who liberated the camps, and for the righteous among the nations who risked and even gave their lives to help their fellow human beings. We remember. With our sixth and final candle, which will be lit by 3 generations, brothers David and Paul Credo, Credo's wife Ziva Green, along with their children Sivan and Mark Chandroff, Adam Credo, and grandchildren Maya and Ari. In memory of those lives, dreams, and hopes, that were put out before they even lived. For the 1.5 million Jewish children we remember. We light these candles to ensure the never-ending memories of the victims who died, whether Jew or Gentile. We light in memory of this lost generation and what they would have brought to the world in every walk of life. May we recall not only the terror of their deaths, but also the splendor of their lives. We also light to honor those who survived the darkest hours of our history. The children who lit candles today represent our future. It is not enough that we remember. We must teach our children and our children's children never to forget. Please close the ark and you may be seated.
We now will have the Consul General of Israel, Honorable Joel Gilad.
Honorable George Van Dusen, Mayor of Skokie. David Brown, Chairman of the Board of the Jewish Federation and my good friend. Charles Lipschitz, President of Sheérit HaPleitah. Congresswoman Jane Chaukowski. And my good friend, State Senator Ira Silverstein. Dear guests, friends, 2 weeks ago, I attended the memorial ceremony in Kansas City following the anti-Semite attack on the Jewish community center there and the killing of 3 innocent people, all of them Christians. Upon my return to Chicago, I heard that in Ukraine, pamphlets were distributed around the synagogue in Donetsk, calling all Jews to register with the authorities again. This should take nobody by surprise, for wherever there are ethnic conflicts all along the history, Jews were the first to be blamed. As we speak now in Hungary, an anti-Semitic and neo-Nazi party by the name Jovic won more than 1/5 of the seats of the Hungarian parliament. My friends, anti-Semitism is not dead. The Holocaust, the most horrible, systematic massacre in the history of mankind, is over, but not the cause. For as long as Jewish people live, anti-Semitism will prevail. Whether under the cover of anti-Israeli propaganda or anti-Zionist agenda, or under no excuse, just as happened lately in Kansas City, anti-Semitism is there to stay. So what has changed? Much has changed. Modern governments, mainly in the West, have learned a lesson, we hope. Take the United States for an example. Only 75 years ago, the administration of President Franklin Delano Roosevelt turned down the request of 937 Jewish refugees aboard the famous St. Louis to enter to the USA. The administration sent those miserable Jews back to Europe, where many found their end at the Nazi death camps. Today, the USA is a place where millions of Jews enjoy economic, social, and physical security, even when events like the one in Kansas can happen every now and then. But my friends, the major change is one, and this is the establishment of a sovereign Jewish state 66 years ago, the State of Israel. It is by no coincidence that we commemorate the day of Shoah a week before we celebrate the Day of Independence. But unlike what some of our enemies think, the Jewish state was not established because of the Holocaust. The Zionist movement was active politically long before the Shoah and would achieve its goal even if this disaster would not happen. However, the Holocaust did give a strong push to the Zionist movement. And this is, my friend, the main lesson of the Shoah. Jews should take their own destiny in their own hands. As much as the status of Jews in West Europe and North America is 10 times better than 70 years ago, it is a Jewish state only 6,000 miles east of here, which is the ultimate answer. It is the State of Israel, which is the ultimate insurance policy for Jewish people all over the world. Whether you live in Israel or not, it makes no difference. The fact that Jewish people, like any other normal people, have their own sovereign state guarantee more security to all Jews in Chicago, in Kansas, and in Skokie, that as you all remember, had its share of anti-Semitism back in 1977. For there is no Jewish redemption after the Holocaust without a national redemption. Only a few months ago, my wife and I attended an evening hosted by the Illinois Holocaust Museum where many people spoke, but the name Israel was not mentioned even once. My wife and I brought we both thought this was a terrible thing, and we both share it with our host that did apologize. For as much as Jewish people feel nowadays safe and secure in America, they should not forget that much of this security is rooted 6,000 miles of here in the State of Israel. I thank you all.
Now we will have the Board Chair, JUF, Jewish Federation, Mr. David Brown.
We remember. As board chair for the Jewish United Fund, I am proud to represent all Jews of Chicago today. This important and critical community event is important for us to not only be a part of today, but for years and years into the future. So we are facing the final years of our survivor community. It is important that we continue to remember, that we continue to organize, and that we continue to honor their survivor community and all of their families. We applaud Sheérit, HaPleitah for organizing this event, this Holocaust Memorial Service every year. We must never forget the men, the women whose lives were taken, and though we do not know everyone's name or their locations, their memory lives with each of us day after day, and we must remember. If you will, I would like to just take a moment of personal reflection of a story that I am a part of. Several years ago, in the vein of We Must Remember, we organized through the Jewish United Fund their men's mission, Nachshon, to go back to Poland and to Germany. Not an easy event for people to take a week or more out of their busy lives to go visit a place that obviously has been difficult for us as Jews. We went to Auschwitz. We went to Birkenau. We went to Majdanek. We visited the mound of ashes in the back of Majdanek. We saw the Warsaw Ghetto and the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising Memorial. The images of being in Poland and seeing the atrocities and seeing what occurred and stepping foot into a gas chamber still haunts me today. The depravity of humanity. What were they thinking? How did this occur? And how did the survivor community, from the depths of this horrific atrocity, find the strength to regroup, to build their lives, to go to Israel, to go to the United States, to come to Chicago and build vibrant lives here, continuity of Jewish life? I just don't know. As we left Poland, we were off to Berlin, which in its own way has done a remarkable job of memorializing the Jews that were lost and acknowledging their role in the Holocaust. On our final day in Berlin, we went to the Wannsee Conference Center, the location outside of Berlin on an idyllic lake where the Nazis hatched the final solution. And there we were, 60 strong men from Chicago, participating in a caucus, in a discussion. And you can imagine the emotion after having traveled from Poland and being in Berlin and talking about your Jewish identity and what the Holocaust may have meant to your family and to you and what you have learned. And there we were, 60 men from Chicago, participating in this age-old caucus and raising dollars and raising awareness and sharing stories in the very place where the final solution was discussed. But we were back, and we were back, and we were back, and strong and vibrant. And in the final minutes of our caucus and discussion, they came to us and said, the Wannsee Conference Center is closing down at 6 o'clock, and you have to exit. But we weren't done yet. So we exited the building, and we finished our caucus out on the sidewalk in front of the conference center. And there we sang in unison, Am Yisrael Chai in Hatikva, to let the neighbors, to let the people, to let the Germans know that there we were, strong and vibrant, and no, we were not going to forget. To the survivor community, well, obviously the days, more days